This is episode 22 of That Time I Got Reincarnated in the Same World as an Anime Podcaster, where we talk about anime, manga, Isekai, and all the meta in between. I'm your host, Isekai Sensei-Sama, aka Brad, and I'm joined in this weeb cabal by Kermit D. Grog.
Ahoy hoy!
We're friends who've been watching anime together for a long time, talking about that anime, as well as the manga we're reading, and so those conversations turned into this podcast. Don't forget to check us out on social media, rate the podcast wherever you can, and tell your friends. You can find links in the description and on our website, animepodcasterreincarnation.com. So unfortunately, Ben is unable to join us for this episode.
He's busy with work stuff.
Yeah, due to some work stuff going on. We miss him a lot. And if you miss him, come jump in the Discord and let him know.
Let Ben know you miss him. I miss him. I miss you, Ben. You're probably not listening to this, but we'll try to convince you anyways.
But yeah, check out the Discord. We got a lot of fun channels on there, and we need people to talk to.
Don't make us sound that desperate.
But I am.
I don't want to talk to you, Babaka.
Well, before we get into it today, we got a couple news items to go over.
Ooh.
So first, I've got some fun anime news here. There's two new... I'm not exactly sure what they're called, but they're a couple episodes of Fully Cooley.
Oh.
So on the 9th of September, Fully Cooley Grunge is coming out. From what I could gather, it's a couple episodes. I don't think it's like a full season kind of thing.
Did you watch Fully Cooley? Fully Cooley is a weird blind spot for me, but I know every so often it seems to come back in little revivals, and people who are around for it seem jazzed for it, but I don't know anything about it. I
watched the original one back in the day, and I really enjoyed it. When the new season came around a couple years ago, whenever that was, I didn't watch it. I have it on my list. I want to watch it. I've just never gotten around to it. And then there's another short bit of episodes called
Horror?
Shoegaze.
Shoegaze?
Yeah. And that one doesn't have a date yet, so probably sometime next year.
Don't know enough about Fully Cooley to know anything about that, but cool that they're getting more whatever these are.
Yeah. So, if you're into Fully Cooley, I think that's exciting news. Yeah. One more anime that's going to be coming out, which I just found out about yesterday, on the 30th of September, is Firefighter Daigo.
What?
Yeah.
That was why, okay, audience, Brad earlier was like, what's that firefighter manga you were reading from the, 90s, if not, the 80s? That's getting an anime?
Yeah, well, so I'm a little confused about it, because as far as I can tell, there's two different manga, both by the same author. But the second one, which was from 2020 or 2021.
Oh, new.
Something orange. And the anime is called Firefighter Daigo Rescuer in Orange.
Okay, so the thing about, one of the major things about Daigo of Fire Company M is that he is a fighter, he's wearing red, but there is the tippity top super firefighters in the air, which is the rescue squad. That he is both locked in this constant thing that he doesn't want to join it, but also he keeps getting emotionally whipped around that he's like, I need to be a part of this. And he gets confused by himself a lot. He's not the most emotionally introspective or mature man. He kind of has big shonen boy feelings about things. So that's interesting. I think later on, at the end of the story, he gets it. So I don't know what this is. I haven't heard or read this. So
it seemed like the newer one that came out is something to do with orange, so it's probably an adaptation of the recent one.
Yeah, I guess
or potentially they might do a few episodes at the beginning of
I don't know if that one's a sequel or not, because it seems like he ends that he gets called in on missions, but also maybe he's kind of retired. I don't know. It wasn't super clear. I guess I could see it get picked up for more threads, or you just start a new alternate universe. I don't know.
I read a couple articles about it, and I could not gather whether it was an adaptation of the original or the new one.
It sounds like if the anime is called with the orange, it's probably the new one.
Probably.
if he's actually wearing it.
But you'll have to watch it and find out.
I will check it out. Anime firefighter is a cool concept.
All right, well, that'll do it for the news. That's all I have.
Still between seasons, so nothing too
You got
major.
anything?
What?
You got anything?
I know that Jujutsu Kaisen is taking a break now that it's finished its little 5-episode run, but it's not another season. It's not another core. It's just taking
weird
like
place to take a break.
It's taking a weird 3-4 week vacation, then they're just back to it. And I guess to the fully cool thing, it's like I don't know what to call this either. Like it's not a second core. Like it's a very clear oh yeah, we were taking these ones off and then we'll be back here, and it's like, oh, neat. I will wait as long as I gotta for Jujutsu Kaisen.
Indeed, I will wait because it's so good. So speaking of Jujutsu Kaisen,
very fitting actually.
There's this interesting thing that we've been going back and forth on. Jujutsu Kaisen is incredibly popular, and seemingly for a good reason, because it's excellent. It seems to be basically doing everything correctly, from the story being very easy to consume, but also having depth. The animation is obviously out of this world.
Chef's kiss, yes.
The music is on point. It seems to do everything very excellently. The thing is there's another series that seems to be a little bit more popular. Maybe not a ton, but a little bit.
I would argue it's in a different, from what I remember from the numbers from my report from a year or two ago, it is in a different strata. And
that's Demon Slayer. So with Demon Slayer, it's definitely more popular. How much more popular is up in the air. But
top either 10 or 20 highest selling manga of all time.
Yeah.
Within, somehow, even though it's only, a little over a decade old, is already in similar arms with the works of One Piece and Dragon Ball and some other old manga that's before our time.
I would chalk the manga popularity up to the anime making it popular.
I would agree with that, but there's still got to be something there.
So the thing with Demon Slayer is that while we like it, I think we're all agreed that it's enjoyable to watch.
Yes.
It is very pretty.
Yes.
It is, it's got great music. Voice acting is excellent. All of the
things specific to the act of animation.
And for the most part, a lot of the story is pretty good. But there's large pieces of it that leave something to be desired, and there's certain parts of it that make you go, what are you doing? And so there's this rift in my mind and in yours, I think, where we're going, why is this piece of media that is what I would say objectively worse, as harsh as that might sound.
Yeah.
Why is this so much more popular than this thing that is objectively better than it?
Yes, and objectively is some also a little bit in quotes because it's hard to measure that. And I guess that's where we're going at. And I don't want this conversation to be too much. I mean, I never wanted these conversations to be too much person yells at cloud of varying ages and gender. But there is a certain amount of frustration, and I don't think this is a case of Jujutsu Kaisen's my baby, I want to hold it up, because I have my darlings that I want to get, that I think are incredible and immaculate, that I want more popularity. It's Jujutsu Kaisen has its time in the sun and is continuing to have it. It is not any slouch. It's it's one of
we don't need to recommend it to anybody.
We don't need to recommend it. I have a friend who's watching through it now for the first time, and she's loving it, and it's it's really fun, and I get so much more on every repeat viewing. But what is different about these two things that makes Demon, the one that we feel is so frustrating and flawed at times, such just a higher strata of popularity and numerical success than this other one that feels like it has so much extra time and thought, and maybe if I don't always follow them along, high-minded ideas about world building, and maybe that's it, I don't know. what makes Demon Slayer so appealing to people.
Yeah.
That it's like a juggernaut.
I think, there's probably an important, I don't know if I would call this an anecdote since it happens seemingly every time, but there's an important thing to talk about in our watch experience with these. When we watch Jujutsu Kaisen, basically all of our commentary is centered around like, oh, how does that work? What's going on there? What do you think is going to happen here? Oh, that was really cool.
Oh, was that thing? Is this person? Right. Oh, hey, this is this person we saw this other time.
There's basically, I can't think of a single point where we were like, what the heck is that? Why are they...
Well, there was that, but it was always like, oh my gosh, what the heck is that? Yeah. Like, it was never like, we didn't... I made a face. You kind of wrinkle your nose. You go, ooh, what are you doing, bud?
When we watch Demon Slayer, we obviously enjoy it. It's a fun show to watch. However, a lot of our commentary is, oh, this is going to happen now. Or, what the heck are they doing? Why wouldn't they use this thing that they've already established as a thing?
Or why are they doing this again or something?
Or how the hell is he still walking around? Isn't his foot broken?
Yeah. I want to get into that. I've been dying to talk about that on the podcast.
And I we definitely nitpick a lot of stuff for fun a lot of times. But I think there's a stark contrast that you can see because we don't nitpick Jujutsu Kaisen.
No.
And it probably does have some things you could nitpick.
Correct.
But it doesn't pop into our heads the same way that
it's not as
Demon Slayer
frustrating as Demon Slayer's issues, where it's like, no, why? Like, they don't feel like choices that made sense. Like, Jujutsu Kaisen doesn't feel like a thing that's written weekly in the way that Demon Slayer does, where it's like, okay, now we're doing this. It doesn't feel as like planned out, where Jujutsu Kaisen, in some ways and in some ways not, similar to One Piece, because it's really easy to point everything at One Piece, feels so constantly like it is setting things up in the world that characters that are referenced conceptually ages ago will show up later and you go, oh yeah, we talked about them that one time. And this incredible like network that admittedly, and maybe this is part of this, is too smart for me sometimes. And I can get that. We have had a topic cooking for a long time that this brushes up against, is the idea of certain series are more friendly to newer viewers or newer readers than other ones. Like, yeah. I always describe Jujutsu Kaisen is not, I don't want to say babies necessarily, but like, is not your first big shonen story. Like, it's not a good, as much as I love it to pieces, I feel like you need so much other like general feeling about how these things move and how to follow storytelling like that to follow it. And not like a big like, you got to be pretty smart to really enjoy Rick and Morty or whatever the actual
No,
I
think it makes sense because like Jujutsu Kaisen would be something that the only person I would recommend that to that doesn't watch any other anime would be someone who's really into paranormal stuff.
Yes, and even then, like I think you need to be some level of hardcore weeb to fully enjoy it. And I think that's why like Jujutsu Kaisen is not at the sales numbers of Demon Slayer. Like I don't there's nothing I begrudge about Jujutsu Kaisen's place in things. Because I do think it is like some teenager who's just learning about anime, and I have no idea what that experience is now that anime is just everywhere and not as stigmatized. Like, I don't know what you would think of Jujutsu Kaisen without, because when I watch Jujutsu Kaisen, I see everything that led up to it. I see your Naruto. Now that I've read it, I see Hunter x Hunter in there. I see Bleach. I see... Did I already say Naruto? Probably already said Naruto.
No, you can say it again.
I'm going to say it again because there's a lot in there. Like, there's so many other shows and the way shonen battlers move and the whole three-man system and the class stuff. Like, and it's not necessarily that it's like it's subverting all those things, but like it helps you get a better grasp of what's going on. That you have a vague sense of like, oh, or like the Goodwill event. It's like I've seen this before, and and it's not like it's a rehash of things that I've seen, but it's like standing on the shoulders of giants. It's like. And it moves. Jujutsu Kaisen moves at freaking Mach 1. Like, you do not spend long doing everything. The world state is constantly changing in ways that make sense, but is also very, like, not unexpected, but still surprising. Like, it keeps you on your toes. And I think if you don't have a base grasp of the general flow of anime, of shonen stuff, that could be hard to follow. Again, I have times where I find it hard to follow, but I also have times where just, like, really cool stuff is happening, and it's like I understand enough to understand why this is rad. And I think that's something I like it. But Demon Slayer has so many moments where it just goes back to the same well again, and it's like, you don't have something else you can do. Like, and it feels like it's Jujutsu Kaisen constantly stays fresh, where Demon Slayer has like frustrated us more with every arc, because it feels like it keeps making the same mistakes.
I think it's important to like note that like we do keep going back to Demon Slayer. Yes. It is an enjoyable experience. I think that maybe the main frustration comes from the fact that we do like it. There's enough there that we like it, that when it does these things that seem to like not make sense or seem like the wrong decision, that it's more frustrating than it would be if we just didn't like it in the first place.
Yeah, there's just enough in it. That was something that really struck me when I was thinking about this topic yesterday and today. Because there was like some big like hour-long YouTube video of a guy talking about why Demon Slayer wasn't good, and I tried watching it a little bit, and it was well produced, and he had some good points, but it's like, I don't have the energy or the emotional desire to sit through an hour of somebody dunking on something.
Yeah.
But it made me think about it, where it's like, we kept watching Demon Slayer season after season, even though we were frustrated about it, but we keep coming back to it. But like, we were watching Dr. Stone, and like, I dropped that thing like a bad habit, and I was just like, I'm done with this, even though I really enjoyed the first season. So
we
it was
also
like,
keep watching My Hero Academia.
Yeah, that one also feels like homework. But also Ben is continually tantalizing us with things that happen in the future. So I'm like, that one's like, My Hero is that I want to see where this lands.
Yeah.
I have no idea how this giant ship with all these pieces is going to land. And Demon Slayer, I don't have that. I don't really care how it ends necessarily, I guess.
Like, that's the thing.
Like,
fight.
Why am I... Because, like, they finished the Sword Village, the Blacksmith Village, whatever the heck it's called. And, like, there was a bunch about it I didn't like. But, like, there was never a moment inside that I'm like, we're not watching the next season. I'm like, well, yeah, we're going to finish it, even though there was a bunch of stuff I didn't like. And Ben, like this little crow on our shoulder who's read the manga, who keeps telling us the manga's not good, goes, oh, there's going to be some more stuff in the line of things you don't like. So it's that question of, like, why do I want to come back to this? Because I do, even though it just is like, I mean, maybe that's why it's so popular, is that just some other people are struck with the same bug of just, there's something about it where I'm just like, I want to come back. I want to see, even though there's so many things that constantly compound and frustrate me.
The thing is, with Demon Slayer, even though there are these frustrating bits to it, when something lands, when Tanjiro does, sun breathing, and it connects and he cuts off a demon's head,
it's
and
rad.
It looks
the music
awesome.
Goes and you get really hype, and maybe that's it. Maybe that hit of dopamine is worth getting through all these, like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Why do we have to do all these flashbacks with these enemies at the moment they're dead?
Yeah.
We know they all suffered. Everybody in this world has suffered. The fact that, like, I guess spoilers for the newest season of Demon Slayer that's now finished, so if you care enough about that, I guess be wary. Like, it was refreshing that the Love Hashira's backstory wasn't as traumatic as, like, every other character's backstory. And that was an unintentional subversion that I found, like, a lemonade on a hot summer day. Yeah. I'm like, you don't have incredible trauma behind you? Oh my gosh, a ray of sunshine here. Please give it to me. Like, almost we're just programmed for it now. We're like,
or when the one demon, like, his backstory was, hey, when he was a human, he stole and murdered from people. Like, okay, great.
How does this change? He's first off,
now
he's
I don't
dead,
like him
so
even
it doesn't
more.
Matter. And second, what's your intention?
Yeah.
Am I supposed to pity him as he dies? You did a really bad job of that.
Because some of the other demons, they did. They were like, here's the backstory. Hey, look, they did a bunch of evil stuff, but they
circumstances
had a
made them
pitiful life before that. And then they go to this one and they're like, yeah, he was just a dick. And it's like, okay. What? I mean, we didn't need 15 minutes for that, did we?
Is it because, is there a certain, like, Mystery Science Theater 3000 riffing aspect that it's just bad in, like, a schlocky, unintentional way, but it's so, like, about it that it's got, like, a B-movie air about it? I think maybe that's why we enjoy it. I don't know why I chalked it up to...
I don't think that's it.
I don't think that's why it's the super popular. I think that's one of the reasons why we keep coming back to it. Well, it's not like, it never makes boring choices. It makes stupid, what are you doing choices. And I think there's a certain amount of, like, that plus the hype that is the right feedback loop that keeps us going around that, like, Dr. Stone didn't have. Because Dr. Stone stopped giving me dopamine hits, but kept doing boring, dumb things. In my opinion, when we were watching the anime between season 1 and season 2.
There's this thing that I was thinking of, because like if you compare Demon Slayer and Jujutsu Kaisen, they both have like a lovable protagonist.
Yep.
And
a sweet boy, as I called them.
He's surrounded by all this darkness and sadness that's happening, but like he's persevering and he gets his power-ups and like he's working through it. So there's this thing for younger people to latch onto of like, hey, stuff is dark and it sucks, but like persevere and do good.
So
and
persevere
all that.
And have a really hot sister.
Wow.
I know some parts of the internet are really about that, and I'm not about them, but
what if that's what it is?
It might be, dude.
Because
it's easy.
Jujutsu Kaisen doesn't have.
Jujutsu Kaisen very explicitly does not have cheesecake at all.
I mean, there's
by purpose. I remember reading about that, and I love him for it. Is like the author was like, "Hey, when you guys do the big Shonen Jump thing of all the girls in the bikinis, do not draw my characters like that. Don't do that."
Jujutsu Kaisen has lots of girl bosses.
Actually, though,
yeah,
like they are actually like there is a moment that actually we might get next season now that the rate this one's going of what's coming up next that like is one of the coolest, most like female celebration moments I've probably ever read in a manga, that I've read it like multiple times trying to go back and get back on the horse of reading Jujutsu Kaisen, that I am just have been jazzed about for probably a year now and will continue to be jazzed about until it gets animated, and then I'll just be more jazzed about it. And like maybe that's it. Maybe there is these parts of the internet of teenagers and people we don't know and people in other nations and people in communities outside of our own, that's a thing they look to and love, that we just never see these people or talk to them or make eye contact or shake their hands or breathe the air they breathe.
I mean, I should say, like, Demon Slayer also has girl bosses, but they are also sexualized.
Name a girl boss in Demon Slayer?
I mean, the Love Hashira kicks a lot of ass.
I genuinely, you've heard to me on my own couch talk about the Love Hashira. I'm like, anytime the Love Hashira is not on screen, I go, where's the Love Hashira? I don't know if I'd call her like a girl boss in the same way I would say some of the characters in Jujutsu Kaisen.
I mean,
also, and I love her, and she's very cheesecake, and I admittedly also kind of love her for that. But like that feels like all of the. Hi, this is a bit of that YouTube video I watched coming in of him making a point that all of the women have very feminine breathing sword powers. This is the blade of like butterflies or insects. This is the blade of love. This is the blade of, I don't remember what the third one was, but it's like there's a little bit of that just sort of like low level like girls don't get the big stuff. There might be, I don't remember. I think he had 3 things that he circled. I don't remember what they were. It's
2 of them. I mean, and to that extent, I mean,
the freaking Pleasure District one, where it's I continue to go back to that weird Hashira and his 3 child brides.
Yeah,
that was so weird.
And the thing is, like,
who are there just to be cheesecake and be different flavors of cheesecake.
Nezuko also has what I would tentatively call agency in, beating the shit out of demons.
She gets to have very simple, my girlfriend only likes me at the times that I want it because otherwise she's in the box, and that's just the state of things. Like, it's really easy for me to read that, because it's like if she had agency, she would get to make choices outside of the ones Tanjiro's making for her. Kicking ass is cool. Like, that's the thing. If you're not thinking, if you're just taking in, like, raw dopamine hits, it's just cute, sometimes chibi cute girl, but also sometimes big honkers hot girl comes out and karate kicks demons, which I'm not going to say that's not cool, but also like in the context of everything is like kind of like really.
I guess my point is like they're definitely not girl boss on the level that Jujutsu Kaisen has.
No,
but they're not exactly.
They're not nothing.
Yeah.
But they're
not just there for.
But they're simple. If you're just some freaking anime weeb schmuck, Demon Slayer is a really nice little power fantasy where you get to be the sweet boy Tanjiro, you get to follow along and his hot sister kicking demon butt with their karate skills.
The men in Demon Slayer are pretty simple too.
Yes, exactly.
And
it's a simple story. It's simple and straightforward.
Maybe that's it. You get cheesecake and it's simple.
Dragon Ball. Simple, straightforward, cheesecake.
Because Dragon Ball has a lot of very similar things.
There's a bunch of different character archetypes, and you can hitch your wagon to that one. Jujutsu Kaisen, dark, complex, constantly changing, you can still pick your favorites, but it's not as like you have to be in there for it to really like click in.
Yeah.
It's not as Demon Slayer is just an easier series to get into.
Right.
Why it's maybe this is speaking as an American where we're having, or I guess we did have our superhero boom. I feel like we're on the tail end of that particular age, or we're moving towards the tail end. Like, I thought My Hero Academia was going to be in that top seller thing when I did that research a year or two ago, and the fact that it wasn't in Demon Slayer was like really surprising to me. And then that was the same year at Con, I guess this was last year, that like the cosplay I saw the most was Demon Slayer, and I was just like, did I miss something? Like, this isn't like when Attack on Titan was big and everybody had the like cape. It's like there's a bunch of people wearing these costumes, and it just seemed like this is when we get to questionably aged, gender questioning human shouts at Cloud, or it's like, why this one? Yeah. And is it just because it is just an easy, straightforward, get on the ride, do the thing, don't think that hard? Like, is that it?
It might be. And there's also might be an aspect of it of like merchandisability.
Yeah, it's very easy to be like, here's this one. This is the one that I like.
Jujutsu Kaisen like doesn't have that. Because
Jujutsu Kaisen isn't about that.
Right. It's just, hey, they're all wearing like the school uniform.
Yeah, different versions of it, but there's nobody that's like, I would say like Panda is the most cute, like pandering character. But yeah, like there's no cheesecake by design.
Toto.
What? Gojo is kind of cheesecakey, depending.
Toto.
Toto as well? Oh no, Toto's his Gojo's buddy, right? Am I forgetting?
No, he's the big guy.
Oh, the
Yuji's,
Boogie Woogie?
Yes.
Yeah, he's not cheesecake. You don't shake his hand. I know what handshake events he's been to. I know where he's been. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's just easier to follow. Like, again, I should have no reason to be talking to teenagers and interviewing about their anime things in person, but like, gosh, do I just want to know what a young person who's watching anime for the first time that doesn't have growing up with Pokemon and Dragon Ball and then Naruto and Bleach and all this stuff that like doesn't have context, like what they think about these things. I don't know.
I'm going to go back to this. It might be the merchandisability, because the visibility of a series is probably very important to how many, how that translates into views. Because if you go to a Hot Topic or, and those mall stores or the bookstores where they have manga or whatever, like you see a whole bunch of Demon Slayer merchandise.
It's the big one.
And there's not very much Jujutsu Kaisen. It is there. They do have it.
It's present.
But it's not as in your face and visible. And so I wonder if that goes to, hey, I see this. This is called Demon Slayer. That looks interesting. I'm going to watch it.
Because, again, Demon Slayer, straightforward, says what it does on the tin. Jujutsu Kaisen, what's that? I remember before I watched it, I think I had heard that name and thought nothing of it. Because until I saw it, it sounds like, even if I know what those words imply they're gobbledygook. Jujutsu Kaisen? What, technique or skill? I don't remember what Kaisen means. But, like, it sounds like nothing.
Yeah.
But then, I mean, I guess I could say the same of, like Jujutsu Kaisen is very clearly inspired by Hunter x Hunter. And that is another one where it's like, what's the name mean? Hunter x Hunter if you want to be, fancy.
It's also better than Hunter x Hunter.
What? Yeah, I would say at least the beginning. Parts of it are, but it feels like this one walked in the beginning, so this one could start off at a jog instead of because I read all of Hunter x Hunter that exists right now, and it starts fucking firing off later on. Like everybody talks about the Chimera Ant arc, and they're right. Like it was really good, and they got into some really neat stuff. But again, you need to think about it. You've got to follow a bunch of stuff. I could make the argument that like you need more emotional maturity to watch and understand Jujutsu Kaisen than you do to watch Demon Slayer, because that, again, straightforward. Boy, family dead, everybody family dead, go kill Michael Jackson demon. There's never a moment you have to really that the show successfully asks of you anything else. But I could also see like the demons getting backstories, if you've never experienced that, could be like a big I'm 14 and this is deep moment of like, maybe the bad guys have their own stories, and like, we're old and jaded and we know it's really stupid now. Like, genuinely, I'm going to say that objectively, they are really stupid.
Sick of it.
What?
We watched Naruto and got sick of it.
Some of those at least feel justified a little bit, because at least they're people, even if they did a bunch of stuff. But it's like, Jujutsu Kaisen, like, these are demons. There's like no coming back from this.
Why is Sasuke just allowed to wander around?
Why is
Orochimaru
allowed to wander around after he reanimated the corpses of 2 presidents to fight another president? Messed up. But yeah, people out there, I don't know if anybody who's a young person or has strong feelings on this listens to us and wants to talk to us, but like, come to our Discord any of the ways Brad mentioned to talk to us. Like, I don't want to come at this just to stomp on it. I want to come at this. As I come at all things that frustrate me. I want to come at this with a sense of getting understanding.
And that's why I pointed out multiple times now, like, it's not that we think it's bad. It's just parts of it are frustrating. There's stuff about it that you could change and make it better without changing what it is and what makes it great. I guess, admittedly, the thing I'm about to talk about that I wanted to talk about is a little off. To make a very specific example, the fights in Demon Slayer, now that they've just become, there's one giant ongoing fight per arc. It's not smaller fights. It's not like you gotta fight the little small guys and you get to the big guy. It's just, once the battle kicks off, you're here for half the arc, if not more. Ben constantly lording over us that the final arc, the final fight, is like multiple arcs worth of stuff. And that thought frustrates and terrifies me. Because, like, I'm used to long fights where you have to move a bunch of pieces around. My Hero has that a lot. One Piece is rife with that, especially after the time skip, where it's just like, fights take forever because everybody's doing stuff everywhere, and they go long because of that. But Demon Slayer suffers from a problem that is very specific to an old flame of mine, which is pro wrestling. This was present in Pleasure District arc and was very present where I noticed it in Swordsmith Village, is that there is a thing, I don't know if it has a name in wrestling, where a match essentially becomes what is called a spot fest, where it's all these big flashy moves and people are hitting their finishers that should end the match just sort of willy-nilly, but the match just doesn't end. And it's 2 guys, and the story isn't strong enough to support this, of just kicking out of everything. They never get pinned, they never submit, and the match just keeps going and going. And it becomes fatiguing, and it becomes, you become numb to it because there are no stakes. If the demon can hit his finisher on Tanjiro and Tanjiro's foot's broken, unless he sells, wrestling terms, unless he sells that his foot is injured for the rest of the match to make that move meaningful, the fact that he can run negates this big moment that he did his finisher move and he broke his foot. And it just makes you fatigued because now you don't know when the end is. And all this crazy shit can happen, but you have no sense of, like, it's the climax. It's like, well, we had the big stuff already happen. And you can do that. You can have a big moment where somebody overcomes an injury. You can hit, the villain can hit their finisher, and if you've been building the story properly, the fact that the good guy in wrestling kicks out of it, but in this, like, doesn't die and is able to keep fighting in a particular way, that can be very, like, meaningful. The wrestling example that comes to mind the most is that, like, for years and years and years, there was a wrestler named Kenny Omega, I'm sure he's still around, I haven't watched wrestling in a while, who was like, he was the guy in all of wrestling, and he had a move because he was a huge weeb and I love him. His finishing move was called the One-Winged Angel, which I guess is less a weeb thing, but I guess similar enough because it's Final Fantasy, it's Sephiroth. And it was a cool move, and literally it cost multiple promotions over many years. Like, I think only one man has ever kicked out of it, and he was like the top guy in Japan that was fighting him. Like, it's never been kicked out of. Like, it is a point that this move destroys. I don't even think the top guy in Japan, it was like a buddy of Kenny Omega's, after, again, a very long storyline where it made sense that he kicked out. And they did that in America, where he had his buddy, Adam Page, the Millennial Cowboy, who I love dearly. And they had the thing where they were buds, and then they were on the outs, and finally, Kenny had the title, and Adam Page finally got the shot. He had gotten his shit together. He was ready. He's like, I'm going to go and fight the title. I'm finally confident enough to do this. And they have the match, and Adam Page kicks out of the One-Winged Angel.
making him like the second man on planet fucking Earth to do this. And because it was a big deal that no one had kicked out of this, and they made a point of it, it wasn't just like, oh, the match should have been over, but it wasn't. It was a big story moment. And it felt, and it meant something. And in Demon Slayer, that's not how it works at all. People bust out big, giant moves with no story or emotional consequences. And they just sort of happen, and they keep moving the goalposts, and it's numbing and exhausting, and it's so frustrating, because it's like, these are cool things happening, but your fight pacing is just not good. Even if a bunch of cool stuff's popping off, like
right near the end there, where I was like, we kept going, like, okay, Tanjiro's foot is broken. How is he running around at full speed? And then he keeps doing the sun breathing over and over again, and it's like, didn't last season they say that took a huge toll on his body? Like, why is he able to spam that now?
Yeah, he seems fine. He is no selling his injuries.
Yeah.
Except in the moments where they have to make a clear point about it. But it's like, if the selling, the act of appearing injured, or actually being injured in Tanjiro's case, but it's also appearing injured because he's not real, he's a cartoon character, like, you stop, the stakes evaporate.
Right.
When it doesn't seem like all this combat has worn down the combatants. He can do all the crazy bullshit he does. He can keep running, but it's like you have to constantly make him sell the fact that he is injured and he is barely scraping along and he's getting at that last little ounce. Like, all you have to do is that, and it makes all the stuff that happened before it.
They did that from time to time.
But
then all the middle,
constantly.
the middle stuff.
To make a point.
The when they're not doing that, and he's still pulling off these huge moves and running around it, and you just go, wait, what? But how is he doing? He should be laying on the ground, unable to breathe.
Yes, it's like if your back is injured in a wrestling match, in kayfabe, in the story, you can't be like, oh, and wander around the ring like you're in pain, and then all of a sudden hit a perfect suplex like you're completely fine. Like, you gotta put it in there. You can still hit the suplex like you do, but you have to make it look like I'm getting every ounce of fighting spirit in me, which anime is great for fighting spirit, and make it happen. I've been reading One Piece again, and there's stuff where fights go on a little long, but the fact that, like, Luffy and all the characters are involved are in, like, tatters by the end of it and just barely holding on to do the moves they're doing makes it feel like something, because it feels like again, anime, Japan is good for that fighting spirit stuff of just a little bit more, and sometimes it can be a bit much, but like if you do it right, you can feel that they're putting everything they have in this to keep fighting, and they've just this last little fuel in the tank hopefully will solve the problem.
The feeling, it was the thing, because like they did, like at the very end, they were showing that, okay, Tanjiro's injured. He has to be, like, pulled in this cart and everything. But, like, then he's just, like, sitting up and talking normally to people. And it's like...
He's not selling it.
You should be basically dead at this point.
Yeah, let him be... put him in a freaking coma.
Which they did the last season.
Sell you have to sell it during the match, and you have to sell it after the match. If you're, like, all beat up, and then you get pinned 1, 2, 3, and then you just get up and everything's fine, and you just leave, it's like... You've erased all the stakes that happened.
And if what they were going for was that, like, the freaking Dragon Ball, like, almost kill him and then he gets stronger thing, they're not explaining that at all.
I don't think that's what's happening.
I don't think that's what's going on.
Also, the Saiyans still need to recover after they reach near death. There's parts where it's like that. I think the Frieza saga is the one we all think about when we learn that. It's like Vegeta gets super beat up, and then he just barely survives, and he wanders off, and he goes to the, like, regen tank, and he chills there for a while until he can fight again, now that he's stronger. But it's like, he has to spend time out of the fight completely recovering and putting himself in, like, a danger state.
I know Goku wouldn't do this, but if I was in that position, I would just take a big bag of sensu beans and just keep, like, breaking my neck. Sensu bean, break my neck.
Oh
sensu
my gosh,
bean,
yeah,
break
you're
my
right.
neck. Sensu bean.
Supposedly,
sensu bean.
Sensu bean is just supposed to be, I think it's the activity of being well rested and eating a large filling meal, I think, if memory serves. But obviously that
and then it goes right out the window later.
But I don't know, that was like one particular nitpick that stood out to like my own personal history with things, where I saw a pattern where it's just like, these fights are I mean, that was a big thing with me with Pleasure District arc, where I'm like, do I even like Demon Slayer anymore? And then we get to the start of the next season, where it's like you get to have the comedy character moments between Tanjiro and the boys as they recover, and I'm like, oh yeah, I love Demon Slayer. Like those, like, It's funny that the thing I love most about Demon Slayer is the comedy and the character moments, and the combat, while flashy and cool, is just, it's a spot fest. Everything
then,
looks
like,
cool, but nothing has like meaning or weight behind it. Like, there's these Hashira who have been doing this for seemingly ages, and then this plucky upstart comes from the backwoods, and then just none of them have killed the demon, any of the lower or upper six, in like 50 millennia or whatever the number is. I don't know, it's not that much, but you know what I mean. And then this plucky upstart just all of a sudden is able to beat them all near death. And it's like, what have you guys been... Some of the Hashira also do this while Tanjiro's fighting in fights that Tanjiro's not even in. And it's like, what were you guys doing? You just sitting twiddling your thumbs? Like, do you just not... You're really up to make sacrifices now, guys. Like, it just doesn't...
And then we're gonna take out like, it's 4 upper 6 within like a month of each other.
And it's like, Tanjiro didn't get any stronger since the lower 6 guy kicked the ever-loving shit out of him. It's not like he became that much stronger. He recovered just enough to keep going, and now he can just go, oh, you take out like 2 of them at once. And it's like,
Yeah. It's
like, I guess that's the thing. It is frustrating. These are like rookie mistakes in storytelling, and maybe because we are just jaded old humans, where it's like, I've seen this. I've seen this done better. I've seen this done worse. Like, how is this thing that's so popular making such basic, like, not even just different of opinions, but just like, this is structurally counterfeit at moments.
Here's a thing.
Here's the thing.
So
here's the thought.
As everyone should be well aware of at this point, I consume copious amounts of trash.
Yes.
Right. Now, you might want to argue this point, but I think the fact that I consume all that trash makes me have a really good view on what is good and bad. I am able to say that those things that I read are trash.
You keep reading them, so they're not trash. They're not truly trash.
No, it's trash. I enjoy it.
True trash. A true zero. That's true trash.
No, they're not.
If you're
zeros.
enjoying it, it's not. It's just. I mean, it can be trashy.
It's a box of donuts I found in the trash. They weren't opened, but they were in the trash.
They were on the top.
Yeah. So when I say that, like, okay, Demon Slayer has good points, it is entertaining, but it confuses me and somewhat frustrates me that there are much better things that aren't as popular.
Or even just that there are other things that are less flawed. Nothing is perfect. We even said the things in Jujutsu Kaisen. Like, no series is perfect. There is always difference of opinions about what makes something great or not great. Continue your thoughts, sorry.
So I think what is going on with Demon Slayer, for me at least, is that, you know, I can see the flaws, but I can also see the good, which, I mean, obviously you can as well.
Yes.
The fact that it seems as if the zeitgeist is so mindlessly consuming it.
Yes.
Is the thing that's frustrating.
Like, I don't know what else would fill that spot right now with what is out.
No, but I think my point specifically is that I want the zeitgeist to more consciously consume things.
It will never do that. I want the top selling thing to be Spy Family and Chainsaw Man, two things that I love, that I think are great, that I'm sure have their flaws and have people having a difference of opinion on them, but I think aren't just so riddled with, like, hack decisions. And, like, hack decision things can still be good. Like, that's, like, it's not that it's not that those things that have problems and flaws can't be good or great. But yeah, I like your way of, like, mindless consumption. Like, Demon Slayer is really easily mindlessly consumed. It doesn't ask of you to have... Here, I guess if I ask this question, what is Demon Slayer thematically about? What is it trying to say? My Hero Academia, trying to say something. Jujutsu Kaisen, I'm sure it's saying something. Like, you can feel the vibe of it. Is Demon Slayer trying to say anything?
I don't know that it is, because, like,
demon bad, killer bad.
It's literally good versus evil.
Yep.
And, like, that's not necessarily a bad thing.
No.
I mean, something that we're sort of lacking these days is just straight up good versus evil. But then I say that and I go, no, wait a minute. Demon Slayer keeps doing these demons' backstories to go, oh, isn't it sad?
Aren't they sympathetic?
And so it's like, no, I don't. And of course, then they did do these latest demons don't have actual sad backstories. They're just jerks. And so, like, I guess that's good.
But again, if you are jaded to it, you float over it. And if you're 13, this is deep. This is your first thing. This is baby's first philosophy lesson, spoon-fed to you really simply. It's like, wow, but they had a rough bringing. That's, cycle of violence, which, like, there are stories that I read now that gets the cycle of, like, trauma and stuff like that, and I think does it really well.
Cycle of violence.
Probably
Chainsaw Motorcycle. Oh, you're not reading... No, you're not reading Chainsaw.
I need to. I'm equipped for it. I need to.
Chainsaw Motorcycle.
Chainsaw Motorcycle completely broke my brain, and I forgot where I was going.
Anyways,
but yeah, maybe it's just so easily consumable. Because, like, Chainsaw Man, not easily consumable. Cool, hip, not easily consumable.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I mean, see, me having to take a break from it, wanting to go back to read it, because I was having relationship brain issues and couldn't read it without becoming sad and depressed. Like,
if you can read Chainsaw Man and, like, read it easily, I think you're not getting it.
Yes, but I was taking if we're getting to this personal moment. Yeah. But, like, Chainsaw Man constantly challenges you on things. Spy Family, not as much. But, like, Demon Slayer doesn't really challenge you. It's not really about anything. It doesn't have a particular agenda besides kill demons and also really badly write backstories for things that don't matter.
There's something that some series do that sort of turns me off from them, and that is when they do emotional beats, but they, like, smack it in your face, where they're like, you should be sad right now.
Oh yeah, I remember you having that big for Boji when we watched King of Kings.
Yes, exactly. That's the same thing.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, like, I know that you're trying to have an emotional story and everything, but, like, when you have to point it out, when you have to shove it in my face like that to get me to feel that way, I feel like you're failing.
Yeah. Welcome to wrestling again. Being told who to like and dislike is a really good way to get a crowd to turn on you, because nobody likes being told how to feel. You have to do your job to make me feel the way I'm supposed to. Don't tell me. Don't play all the tinkly music and be like, be sad now. It's like, no, I'm not that you still can't play the tinkly music, but, like, you have to do your job as an artist to make me feel those things. And if you do it right, I will follow you. It's not like I don't want to. I just don't want to be told how to feel.
Right. Yeah, and I don't know. Maybe if I was younger, if I didn't have as much life experience, if I hadn't had certain traumas in my life, maybe
you didn't have the ability to emotionally introspect.
Yeah,
maybe you want to imagine having a cute girl with you at all times that has big boobers and kicks ass. Like, I could see a very vapid teenager being into that.
Yeah, maybe people in a different life situation won't feel as combative to having that so obviously smack them in the face.
Yeah.
Maybe I am just jaded in some way. But it's also frustrating to me. And like I said before, I want people to more consciously consume things.
I feel like that's a big lesson we come to in a lot of things.
I mean, it's something we bring up a lot.
I mean, yeah, just the way we approach media is different than, I don't know if I want to say the majority, but some large group of humanity that consumes things. Like, I'm someone... Hi, we're going to get personal for a moment.
Okay.
I mean, this is us talking about our experience. Maybe your experience is different, and maybe this is a time for you to introspect on this. If you have the power to do that, I hope you do if you listen to this, because it's kind of one of our big themes. But, like, when I see something, if I watch a movie or a show or I read a book, I have to talk about it. Like, if I see a movie and then don't talk about it to somebody directly who I saw it with, and everybody's just like, oh yeah, it was fine. Like, I will suffer damage. Like, I will, like, I learned that recently, like, it's a trauma point for me. It's like, it's important to me. I have thoughts and feelings about everything, and I need to discuss them. I don't even need people to agree with me. I just need to, like, explore this. And there are just so many people in the world that just don't. And I don't know how many of those, I'm assuming it's the majority of people, gestures at general pop culture and what becomes popular and what doesn't. Like, I mean, introspecting on emotionally difficult things is hard and it's tiring. And like, there's a part of me that doesn't blame them, but also just like, I can't help myself. Like I could not do that.
Do you know that a good large percentage of the population is incapable of imagination?
Not imagination. I would go somewhere of like emotional maturity and introspection.
But
I'm sure they can still tackle things. I'm not calling everybody like children.
Well, have you heard the term aphantasia?
What is that? I don't know what that is.
So it's basically the inability to picture something in your head. So, and to that extent, there's also people who can't speak in their mind. And this was when I found out about these things, and I would hesitate to call them cognitive deficiencies because these people are still able to function just fine in the world. But it's a level of like non-introspection ever that is literally how their brain works.
Could not imagine that.
And it makes me think that there is just a large gap between people who can imagine things and people who can't.
Difference.
I wonder if someone who has aphantasia or lack of an inner monologue is able to actually have conscious consumption, or does everything just go in and then come right back out?
Flashing lights, colors, sounds.
Yeah.
Cool moment.
And from what I understand, there's a good large percentage. I don't think it's like 50%, but I think it's like
it's more than
20, 30%, which is like, seems way too high for something that to you and I who have these kind of conversations,
who literally I literally can't not have them.
Yeah, it's a completely foreign concept. You can't imagine not imagining.
Yeah. Dude, I don't know. And it's that, I guess, to look at all this in a different direction of like, we're talking about like a thing that's uber popular that we don't get the uber popularity of, like that feeling of like weird out of touchness, and admittedly on a much smaller thing. Brad, I don't think you're reading. Have you read or seen anything about Tanmaku Cinema?
No, what's that?
Tenmaku, I think it is. It's a Shonen Jump series. Everybody in the Shonen Flop Discord that's reading it is like getting in a little powwow spirit circle because it's like getting to the chapter count, and it's getting to be that time of the season where it's like the axe is coming out.
Oh yeah,
and that series really came around for us. Like, it started kind of like wibbly wobbly, and now it's like it's about a kid. I think the starting bit is that like there's a kid who's in the cinema class club, and he really likes movies. And one day he gets like haunted by a ghost who was like a great writer, a young writer from the 80s, and he was supposed to write this great work that like goes to I don't remember his name, but like one of the great Japanese directors. Like he's an actual name that I know. I don't know what it is now. What?
Kurokawa?
Very possible. Kurosawa,
yeah.
Maybe. It might be that one.
Katakuri. I'll just keep saying.
And he's like, I'm going to write, I have to write my great screenplay. Maybe that's how I can finally move on to the other world. Also, like, at this point now, the ghost is mostly just shows up in the background, occasionally comment, because now the main character is making the movie, and every chapter is just the process of, like, the actors and getting the script together and shooting on location. And, like, to me, who loves learning how the sausage is made, I find it incredibly compelling. Even if, like, necessarily the story of the characters isn't as strong, like, it's good enough to get the vehicle, and, like, I really enjoy my time with it every week. Tenmaku Cinema is also constantly like the bottom of the popularity list when it comes to Shonen Jump. It's usually printed in the back of the book with the other about-to-be-act series. I don't know if the sales numbers have gone up for its first volume, but I'm sure they're not very good. And it's just the most like, what happened?
Yeah.
Why is this thing that we all love, that I don't think is so like that divisive, so just... Because there's other things in there that I like. We all go like, this is undercooked, but like, that's what some people want to... I think it's like Nui's Exorcist that the majority of people, again, in a very specific subset of humanity, of those who are reading it, who are thinking about these things more and looking at all the data and how they come and go through Shonen Jump. Did I say Nui's Exorcist, I think it was, where it's like, this is dumb schlock, but that has constantly been doing very well and gets the color pages and printed in the earlier part of the book and is doing gangbusters, and we're just like... You know what? And that one, admittedly, when you go on the smaller scale, it's just like, it's one of those like, this isn't for you, bub. And that's okay. And I think that's what makes this Demon Slayer question thing flipped around, because it's like, This is literally one of the top sellers of the world. This is crossing across all sorts of different communities. Because how do you get, in a little over a decade, Dragon Ball numbers? How do you do... In physical media, in this age of dying physical media, how do you get more manga, physical book manga sales of a manga that Ben and other people have told us is not good? The anime is 100% the way to consume Demon Slayer. How?
I don't know.
Mugen Train, literally one of the top scoring, like, money-making animated films released in Japan. I don't remember if it was that year of all time, but just, like, there's just something about it.
Yeah.
There's something about it.
Yeah, I was just thinking, it's the Shonen Flop Discord is always funny because there's like this precipice that they walk the edge of where it's like, hey, we really like a thing, but if it doesn't get canceled, Shonen Flop won't talk about it.
Or the strangeness of, like, this is garbage. Like, it's almost like it's a death cult of mangas. Where it's just like a chapter, the first chapter comes out and it's like, this one's gonna die in its normal lifespan, or it's quicker than that, or like, this one's a supernova rocket, it's gonna live forever, and like, watching everybody looking at reading the stones and the tea leaves and watching the stars and trying to predict what's coming and when the axe is gonna fall on who and when and why, and yeah.
I wanted to bring this around because
we gotta speaking of Mugen Train, we gotta move this one to the station, bud.
We've talked about conscious consumption.
Yep.
And I just wanted to touch on something with that because I feel like a lot of times we just say, hey, consciously consume things. Bye. There's a point there, and I want to use myself an example here. Just because you're consciously consuming something doesn't mean you can't enjoy things that might be a little trashy or have some bad spots or something like that. As I said, I consume so much trash isekai manga, but I am consciously consuming that. I am aware that it is not objectively good.
You are making a conscious choice. In the same way that you talking about eating a Papa John pizza last week consciously made me decide to get a Papa John pizza, and you know what? I regret it. It was a bad choice, but I was aware of that choice both before, during, and after I made it, that I made a choice, and I was going to be with the consequences.
So, in that same vein, like, we consciously consume Demon Slayer.
Yes.
We like it, but we are also acutely aware of the problems that it has.
We're also frustrated by it.
And that frustrates us. The fact that we like it, I think, is the thing that frustrates us the most.
It frustrates us even more.
Yeah, there's definitely things that we've watched that we didn't like and were frustrating.
That I was panning for gold more.
Exactly.
And I had further spots between it. I think Fire Force comes to mind where I had some rough times, and every so often a thing would happen like, okay, I got just enough wind underneath my sails to keep going on this. And I don't think I have that. Like, that's the thing. I don't think the wind never gets fully taken on my sails for Demon Slayer, despite how much it frustrates me.
Yeah.
So, but no, we don't want to get back into it. So continue your ending. No,
that's exactly it. Is that, like, I want everyone to understand that the conscious consumption of something does not mean that that thing you're consuming has to be good.
Or has to mean something.
Yeah.
You can eat junk food. It's okay. As much as I will...
This is
razz Brad about his constant junk food consumption. Like, you can do that.
This is going to sound ridiculous. You can consciously consume something mindlessly.
Yes.
You have to be aware that you are mindlessly consuming something. That is the important part.
You can turn your mind off while you are doing that,
yeah.
But you are aware of your position with it.
Yeah.
I guess awareness is the key word.
And the thing is, if everybody was consciously consuming, Demon Slayer might still be as popular as it is. That's completely possible. I think the key there is that there would be a much better reason. There would be a more clear reason why it is number one.
Yeah. I think between that and if you love Demon Slayer and you want to say maybe not even why you think it's as popular as, but why you individually love it, and either why you look past the flaws or you don't think there's flaws or what you think it's saying and what it's about, I feel like this is the other theme we come to is like, talk to us. We wish to understand. This is a podcast of sometimes we shout at clouds, but we want to understand. We shout because we want to understand, but they're so far away. We can't talk to the clouds. We cannot shake the clouds' hands. We cannot hug and connect to a cloud. Merely we shout at them for existing.
Get down here so I can examine you.
Get down here so I can have a humane conversation with you about how we both feel about a situation.
So, we recently did something a little bit different for Weeb Cabal. Because Ben wasn't around, we didn't watch some of the normal stuff that we were watching.
Also, we finished a lot of the normal stuff we were watching.
That is true.
It's taking a break, because Demon Slayer was done, My Hero's done, and Jujutsu Kaisen's on its sabbatical.
So, basically just Vinland Saga.
Vinland Saga. Gotta save the Vikings for Ben. He's the Viking boy.
But you and I decided to do something a little bit different, and that was to do a sort of sampler platter.
Yes, very specifically just one episode of all these shows that seemed kind of interesting or we had heard about or something, and just go, hey, if we like it, we'll put it in rotation. If we don't, whatever, move on.
So basically, we just scrolled through Crunchyroll and went, oh yeah, I've heard of that. People say it's good. Let's check that out. And so what we thought we'd do today is give you our thoughts on those. Yeah. So we've got 4 different series, and we're gonna tell you what we thought of them.
I'm gonna give you 8 different views on them collectively.
So the first thing we checked out is called Tomo-chan Is a Girl. Now, this is a series that I had seen a lot of different people talking about, lots of clips on YouTube. I've heard good stuff about the manga, but it seems to be very highly rated. I think it's either coming out now or it came out last season. So it's fairly new.
Yeah, I didn't see. I think it might have been. I don't know if it was under new releases or not. We were literally just tooling around Crunchyroll.
This is a series that I figured I would probably enjoy to some extent because I like the high school slice of life romance comedy kind of thing. I really like Komi Can't Communicate. There's a couple other
Skip and Loafer I can talk about that you got me on.
Yeah,
that's reminded me of just by virtue of like this little school ecosystem.
Yeah. So the primary premise of Tomo-chan Is a Girl is that Tomo-chan is a girl, but she has grown up doing what is it, karate or taekwondo? I think it's
karate,
taekwondo.
but also like boy. She's very like tomboy. Like I think literally in the description it says tomboy.
Yeah. And so I
don't remember. She doesn't say ore, right? Or oira?
No.
Okay.
They didn't go that far. But now that she's in high school and she is developing womanly feelings,
and womanly features.
She wants her best friend since childhood
her best male friend.
Yeah, to see her as a girl, and he will not.
Almost refuses. Not sure the exact context of it yet. There's something going on, but they haven't. That's what the rest of the episodes are for.
Yeah, and again, all of these we only watched one episode, so this is a very short take, but we enjoyed it. It was a fun time, and I think it hit a lot of the beats that I expected it to hit, but also the things that I enjoy about those kind of series.
You are more steeped in that genre than I am, both reading and watching. This was definitely a little bit of a more alien experience to me. And I ended up enjoying it enough to go, yeah, let's watch this. I miss, ever since we finished Love After World Domination, having like a goofy comedy start the night off. It's a really good kind of like settling in. Instead of what we've been doing is just like, I want to eat the most expensive food first. Put on Jujutsu Kaisen. Or I want to get through my homework. Put on My Hero Academia.
Yeah.
I started kind of sour on it because it's like, I don't like seeing a boy. She sort of gets molested. Not really. That might not be the right word for it.
It's.
He does things. It's like, oh, they're boys, so he'll do this, and I'm like, I get the joke, but this makes me uncomfortable. But then she just punched the shit out of him and beat him up like really intensely. And also, I normally hate that trope, but in this situation, I was like, yes, cool, give it to me.
It works in that like she is having things done to her that she doesn't want.
I think at one point he like pats her on the butt because it's like the good job, which I don't know how big of a thing that is in Japan.
Or puts his arm around her or whatever.
Yeah.
And like now that she is conscious that he is a boy that she likes, she is very embarrassed by those things, but she still has those boyish tendencies of beating people up.
Yeah.
Beating up your friends.
I don't know how much intentional that I'm getting to see, like, yes, somebody who's being, abused. Now, again, abuse is too strong of a word, but is having those moments happen that happen in all these other animes, decking the shit out of their, whoever's perpetrating it, was very, like, refreshing to me.
Right.
And then I was just like, and then we're like 10 minutes into their, like, the first third, and I'm like, I mean, I'm liking this, but what's the rest of the show? I don't know what more, like, I'm already getting, like, I enjoyed it, but, like, I can only eat this so many times. What's the rest of the show? And I got a little, like, unsure and bored. And then the side characters start coming in, and the show becomes weirder and kind of great. And, like, I'm like, oh, I'm being charmed and confused and intrigued and...
Yeah. Yeah, I think my favorite character is their friend, their mutual childhood friend.
Their mutual childhood female friend who is just so unexpectedly just so... strange.
She's almost evil.
Like the amount of like weird, like she confronts the male lead about it.
Yeah.
And a very strange, comically uncomfortable scene.
Yeah, like
and he doesn't like respond really, so it's still a mystery why he's refusing to see his friend as a woman, and it's just like it was just weirdly high tension, awkward in a way that I was like, that felt like that was the point of the scene, and I'm like, what are we doing, guys? This felt like it was really straightforward, and now, like, I have no idea what's going on, and it was exciting.
Yeah. And then there's I also really liked her, Tomo-chan's interaction with the Garyu girls, who, Tomo-chan is now in the Taekwondo club at school, and the captain of that club, who is presumably a year older than her or more.
Yeah, because I think she refers to him as senpai.
Is like a pretty boy. And so he's got all these girls who are going after him. They see her getting buddy-buddy with him, which she does not see him that way at all.
No, because it's just like, you're the captain of the club. Like, I'm in the male club because without trying, I beat up all the girls.
She traumatized them.
She traumatized them. They're like, please leave. So she went to the boys' club to fight them, and even then she kicks all their asses.
But so these girls are like, we have to confront her about this, and they think they're gonna like intimidate her or something, and then she just comes and intimidates them. They think that she's gonna beat them up. And then she sort of like takes them under her wing.
She's
and they
just
fall
jazzed
in
to
love
have
with
like
her.
girly female friends because she really wants to like embrace that part of herself.
And that's the like the cute misunderstanding stuff that I love about these like high school slice of life comedy things. And I think it really hit a lot of the good notes of that genre that I really enjoy. So for me, it was one of those things where it's like, oh, this is new, but it's got the things that I like in it.
It's got the beats and the rhythms, but it's also doing its own, like, I don't know how much that their childhood best friend, that character is just so strange, how much that archetype is present in other things, but like, it's got a weird, I haven't entirely figured out its rhythm yet after thinking I had it pegged, and I love something seeming as straightforward, and then it's like, no, there's something more going on, but I don't know what it is, but I'm charmed, entertained, and intrigued, so I wish to continue looking into it. Yeah. So excited for more Tomo-chan as a girl, for subverting my expectations and judgments from the name and the concept.
If you've seen it, jump into Discord and let us know what you think about it.
Yeah, we'll let you know when we watch more of it.
Next up is a series that we both have heard of. We had both heard of and knew in sort of the realm of like a Spy Family kind of thing. And that's Buddy Daddies.
You're talking about Buddy Daddy. Yes, I remember Buddy Daddy coming up as a, hey, you're at a Spy Family. This might scratch the itch of capable humans with cute daughter or cute child. I guess in both cases it's a daughter.
Yeah, so in the vein of Spy Family, like we said, Sakamoto Days.
Yep.
Now there's Kill Blue.
Kill Blue.
It seems to be a genre that is becoming more and more prevalent,
which I guess
is
Buddy
good.
Daddy must have been around because it was either out or coming out at the same time. Spy Family. Like I don't think it was put into production. It was clearly already. I would think it was already popping around.
I think Buddy Daddies came out last season.
Yes, the anime at least. I'm assuming it had a manga.
So yeah, the manga.
The manga could have been inspired.
The manga's probably 2 or 3 years old. I didn't look it up.
I know.
I had fun with it. It didn't hit me in the same way that Spy Family did. It didn't quite reach the level of like a Sakamoto Days for me, but it did a lot of stuff that I thought was fun and interesting. And the relationship. So we only watched the first episode. We didn't really get to see the relationship between father and daughter, but the relationship between the two guys, I thought was an interesting dynamic because the father, the actual father, is already sort of taking care of the other guy.
Yeah.
He's sort of a hikikomori.
He's a bit of a neat when he's not actually out on a job, which is fun seeing him then all dressed up in like a tuxedo suit.
Right, and that juxtaposition of him being a neat but then also being incredibly capable at his job.
He's a sloth. He saves all the energies for the moment that he needs to strike. Or I guess a crocodile is probably more apt.
I like that juxtaposition. I think that's a good story mechanic to use.
Yeah, I think that's cool. I guess spoiler alert for the rest of our discussions of the 4 we watched. This is the only one where I was like, I don't want to do more of this. Even though I was the one that was like, I want to check out Buddy Daddy. I think just also having the specter of Spy Family there, which is such a cozy, comfy, feel-good show, and like the two leads dynamic is constantly at odds, and I'm like, this isn't a warm hug. I'm not hugging a plushie right now. I don't like this. This makes me uncomfortable. And also, the thing that surprised me, I don't know if it's a mark towards or against, I don't think I've seen an anime that's come out recently that's this visually brutal of dudes just getting shot the fuck up with blood. Like really brutally, and like I'm sure I've seen Twilight shoot people in Spy Family, but it's usually like you see the impact of them getting hit and then they fall down, but not like there's a fucking blood hole in them and like a blood spurt, and like it's weirdly visceral for how like what it's about and how cutesy it is otherwise.
So Spy Family, the manga, does get very violent, but we haven't gotten to that in the anime yet.
I guess I never feel like Spy Family revels in violence, even if it's like it's fun, cool violence. It's A-team violence where it's like there are guns, people are shooting, occasionally somebody gets shot, but there's no like blood and viscera.
Well, so the latest chapters had a bunch of it, and the one point I'm specifically thinking of is right near the end of the cruise, where you're just like slaughters all of those guys. It is very bloody.
I'd have to see it to remember. I don't remember it being that like, but like the fact that this man is just like John Wick moving through people, and just capping them in a way that like I didn't know I could be made to feel uncomfortable about him just brutally murdering all these men, but I kind of was in a weird way. And this is somebody who's seen all the John Wick movies and loves them dearly, but like I don't know, maybe it's just because I don't usually see this in anime, especially in anime with such a bright color palette. Like it looks like it's supposed to be so, again, Spy Family, so cozy and colorful and inviting. Like it has, usually when something's more brutal, it's got a more subdued color palette, a lot more browns and dark reds and whatnot. But like, no, it's just unapologetically brutal on top of being very bright and sunshiny. And usually I think I'd like that juxtaposition, but here I'm just like, I feel weird.
It was, there was a strong juxtaposition there.
And I don't know, like it makes it even more weird that it's like, again, Twilight can shoot people, York can kill and stab people, but I'm like, they're cute together and they're wonderful parents for Anya. And this one I was just like, even if they're doing technically the same things conceptually, it's like the way they show it is like, I don't think I want this man being a parent. I don't want this little girl around. Also, the little kid, the girl, she's not Anya. She's not as good.
That's important to bring up, is that like I didn't think it was bad. I don't think they did a bad job with it.
It's not the itch.
Anya has set such a high bar at this point that I don't know that anybody else can hit it or even come close at this point.
I don't know if
it definitely gave you the this is an adult woman doing a child vibes. Which again,
it happens.
She did it well, but it wasn't perfect like Anya's voice actor.
It wasn't the feeling that Anya's this little booger shit kid that I love dearly for being a little trash king.
Now I thought the whole interaction she had and how the dad was trying to protect her and everything. I thought that was fun and
good.
I thought it was a good time. I would keep watching it, but that's not how it works in the weeb component.
I think your itch has to be really bad for Spy Family to get it satisfied here. I think. Yeah. I mean, it's admittedly reading, but I think, especially where it is now, Blue Kill gets closer to it than this.
Kill Blue.
Especially like that. That one's it was especially, I guess, with Kill Blue, because I don't think we really talked about it on the podcast. That one constantly feels like it's teetering on making a bad choice, and then it just doesn't. Where it's like, oh no, he's going to do an icky thing, and it's like, oh, he didn't. Oh, and they made a point about how the other choice would have been icky, so he didn't make it because of that. And it's like, huh, this is very satisfying. It feels like my thoughts and the feelings are being taken into account with these things.
And the fact that Kill Blue and Spy Family and Sakamoto Days are all coming out right now is like, I don't really need to watch
that Sakamoto Days anime, baby. It's got to be in production. Next big jump thing, it's got to announce it. Like, come on, it's over 100 chapters. It's great. I love it.
I feel like I haven't seen that many people talking about Sakamoto Days. I think
it needs an anime. I mean, dude, same. It's doing well in the manga, and that's what's important to me until it gets the anime, and then actual people we know will watch it because people don't like to read.
I know there's a couple guys on the Shonen Flop Discord that read it, but it seems like it doesn't get talked about very much.
I don't think I've ever seen a thing about it out and about where I wasn't in a very Shonen Jump manga specific like space, which mostly has just been us and Shonen Flop. But yeah, I think once that anime hits, Sakamoto Days, baby, invest in it. It's going to be a good time.
So jump on our Discord and talk to us about Sakamoto Days instead of Buddy Daddies.
Yes, don't talk to me about Buddy Daddies. I don't like Buddy Daddies. I thought with a name like that and a look like that, I thought it was going to be a fun, comfy romp, and it was not. And that upset me. Okay, what was next?
I think it's still good.
ご覧のスポンサーでお送りします。
Are you a fan of Japanese snacks and treats?
Sure am.
Then you'll love Sugoi Mart. They offer a wide variety of popular Japanese snacks, candy, drinks, and more, all delivered right to your door. We recently got a box that had some fun stuff in it.
Yes.
We love the various candies and snacks and stuff. There was one particular thing that I thought was, I don't know if gross is the right word, but I didn't like it, and you thought it was great.
Which one was it?
The citrus jelly drink.
Oh my gosh! It was like a lemonade drink, but it was also jelly. It was goo. There was a lot of descriptions of give me that goo.
Here's the thing. So Ben wasn't here due to his work stuff, and so we opened this up together and did not have any idea what this was. I saw lemons on it. I was like, okay, it's some kind of citrus
because it looked like a liquid inside.
So I get the cups and I open it and I try to pour it out and some liquid comes out and then it stops.
And I'm holding very clearly see all this stuff in the bottle.
I'm holding it upside down and there's no liquid coming out. I'm like, what the heck is going on here? And my first thought was, oh, there's some kind of film on this. It's gone bad because it was out in the heat.
I had thought there was some sort of stopper in the plastic head that it somehow knew when it had been tipped completely upside down that it would stop it. These things were true.
And I knew that wasn't it because as I'm tilting it, like I could tell there was nothing.
And after a while, like a giant lemon amoeba
I squeezed it.
The oh, that's
and
what it was.
This goop comes out.
And I'm like a blob.
What is this? So anyways, suffice to say, it's basically runny Jello?
No, because it's like globule. Like I don't know how much I eat a blob. Like it's called the jelly, but there's also some liquid in it. But it's a drink, and like I love lemonade, and I love weird textures like that. Like I was initially grossed out by it, but then as I drank more of it, I'm like, I want to drink more of these things. It was a fun novelty. I enjoyed it. I thought the flavor was good.
I might have liked it if it was cold, but unfortunately it was not.
Well, I don't even know how that would be like cold. I'm curious now.
But I could not get over the texture. So
ooh, eat the lemonade goo.
But still an endorsement. You liked it a lot.
I loved it. I should buy more.
Yeah.
Which I can.
Additionally, and I just saw this email yesterday, they just came out with Gear 5 merch. So there's like 3 or 4 plushies and like
they knew it
like
was a big deal.
Yeah.
As someone who just watched the anime episodes of that earlier in the week.
The plushies are all like different squishes. Yeah.
That's fun.
I thought they were pretty cool, so I wanted to call that out. But check out the One Piece section on segoymart.com. And if you use offer code APR15 at checkout or click the link in the description, you can get 15% off your first purchase.
Cool.
You can buy a bunch of lemonade drinks plus some Luffy merchandise. You just head to segoymart.com to shop their selection of delicious snacks today.
Remember, anime podcaster reincarnation 15, APR 15.
So now we're going to get into some stuff that's a little bit darker.
Yes.
So we watched Hell's Paradise.
We watched a man attempt to be not assassinated.
Executed.
What?
Executed.
And many different old Japanese ways, and none of them worked.
Yeah.
Which I am a sucker for that trope.
So Hell's Paradise has been all over everywhere recently. Like, out of all of the ones that we watched, I think Hell's Paradise is probably the most popular.
I think I had heard of it, but I knew literally nothing about it. There was no character I could go, that's a Hell's Paradise character. Like, I just think I saw the thing of it on Crunchyroll, because it's always in, like, this is a really popular thing you should watch.
Part of the reason that it's popular is because it's from MAPPA.
MAPPA is always... MAPPA,
they know how to do
Jujutsu Kaisen, MAPPA, Demon Slayer. MAPPA, Jujutsu Kaisen? MAPPA, definitely Demon Slayer.
Oh, I forget.
I don't remember. They put an extra bit of a little bit extra polish on it, a little extra, spit and polish.
And it's there. You can tell. The animation is excellent. Everything about the execution is great. I feel like we didn't get into much of the story at this point, so I can't really speak to that. But it seemed they set up a really good base for it.
No, but yeah, I like what I saw, and when I was watching it, I'm like, normally I wouldn't like something like this, but there's just something about it that it's just clicking into place, because usually it's like, this is too dark, and very specifically the word I would always use is edgelordy, but it just somehow skirted by that and was just like, I'm really curious about this character. I think it's because he has, which is what, the main character, from what we know right now, the main character is essentially unkillable and immortal. He's always been a trained killer.
So he's not immortal, but normal people would be unable to kill him.
Correct. He's like literally, like they tried to cut his head off and it didn't work.
He's basically immune to fire. So they tried to burn him at the stake. That didn't work. They tried to boil him in oil. That didn't work.
They tried to just cut his head off.
They tried to cut his head off, stab him with a spear. That didn't work.
Did they try to hang him?
The executioner woman at the end
was cool. I liked her.
Was able to cut him, even though he was trying to not be cut. So that's to show that, like, no, he's not actually immortal.
Well, he thinks it. I guess that's part of it, is he thinks that, but he's not actually. But I think that's what, even though he's so dark and he's the most edgily, like, I was trained for this and I'm unkillable and I'm an assassin, but I want to get out of the game. But there's this thing that he's, like, in a forced marriage with, who was it? Was it like
the clan leader's daughter?
Yeah, clan leader's daughter. And at first he's like, I didn't like her because he's this, like, dark, brooding guy, and she was just this very, like, kind of simplistic but smiley, not like vapid, but like very small, simple life lady.
Optimistic,
I like that. Who hadn't really had to live any of that darkness that he had. And initially he's like,
except
I
for
didn't
when
actually
her
like her.
dad burned her face.
Yeah, also her dad sucks,
Jeez.
admittedly. She had to deal with some trauma, but she's like, so I guess that's the thing, is she's really optimistic despite the traumas she's faced, as opposed to him.
Yeah.
And at first he's like, I don't care about my wife. We don't actually like each other. And then the woman executioner's like, I think you actually do really still care about your wife, and that's why you don't want to die. And then you get to see all those things, and like, as someone who's usually very arms crossed in relationships and anything, especially anime, where it's like, I don't see this at all. This is one where I'm like, I like this. I want to see these two back together. This feels like sweet.
I thought they executed the literary twist of I hate her, and then he's being interviewed by this woman, and she's like, I don't think you actually do. I thought that twist that they put in there was very well done.
It worked. Like somebody's like, this usually doesn't work. This is stupid. And she's like, no, this is, edgy for edgy's sake. And it's like, no, it just clicked, and I just really enjoyed it, and it made me feel things, and it made me interested to see what happens next. And I was rooting for these characters. I thought they had understated but cool designs. Like, I'm excited to watch more Hell's Paradise.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good time. I was thinking, it's obviously dark, but it's not giving me the same kind of anxiety that I got from Vinland Saga. I think there's something in Vinland Saga where the characters feel so real to me, like Thor acting as a real person, a real father, wanting to protect his family and his village and everything. That gave me so much anxiety as they were going out on their journey and everything. And when I see Thorfinn going around and interacting with the English and all that, like, it gives me so much anxiety because they make these people feel so much more real, even though the Vikings are like awful and everything, but like I connect to that so much more. And with Hell's Paradise, I think it's more fantasy.
Yeah. Vinland Saga is definitely more like, and not that it's 100% grounded, there's definitely fantastical elements, but it's a lot more grounded, like, in reality of, like, stuff like this happened. Like, there's a certain amount of, like, mud and blood boots on the ground that you feel in Vinland Saga of these people and their plights. Like, it just feels like you're watching it play out, and it's not this grand shonen adventure. Or even just, like, a dark one. It just feels like, I don't know, I that phrase of mud and blood came into my brain that just feels very apt of, like, we have to figure out lodging, we have to figure out food, we got to march all over the place, we're dealing with war constantly, and like just the realities of that and all of it, and you can kind of get ground down in the darkness and the hopelessness of that. And I feel like that's the thing of Vinland Saga. And I mean, Hell's Paradise has time to shift into that, but I don't think that it is. I think because it is a little bit more fantastical, that even if it deals with dark stuff, can still, like, it having a heart was very, I liked that a lot, because somebody who just by and large really hates edgelord, edgy for edgy's sake stuff, it's like, you can do dark things, you can handle it, just like we all have to do. We all have our own little traumas and things we've dealt with in the world, both big and small. Like, have an iota of compassion about it. You don't have to just revel and go, look how dark and messed up, isn't that cool, isn't that interesting, isn't that so compelling that everything's suffering? And it's like, no.
That's why I picked up Isekai, because it was like, life sucks. I just want to have a power fantasy.
From it. I don't want, and I like shows that could deal with dark stuff but have that little bit of care. It's why I, in a very not like anything we're talking about at all, if you've seen it, it's why I love the Barbie movie, because it deals with dark stuff and it like gives you a little talk and a hug about it, instead of just being like, world's messed up, sucks to suck,
Good
bye.
luck.
So yeah, Hell's Paradise. I feel like I have less to say about it, even though I really enjoyed it, even though they were all the same episode lengths.
Yeah.
It was just good.
Well, there was
a lot of time spent trying to kill him.
Yeah, there was a lot less going on.
And it was fun.
In the first episode. It was very much a setup for what's to come. Not that, like, Buddy Daddies wasn't, but
Buddy Daddies got into what it did, because you get a big chase action.
Whereas, like, with Hell's Paradise, they didn't even, like, they told you the adventure they were going to go on.
Yeah.
They didn't start it at all. They were like, we got to go someplace else first.
The prologue to the prologue.
Yeah.
To set up what I'm assuming is our main characters. Don't know. Maybe we'll report back later when we're done with all these.
Oh, and something important to point out. You should probably check out the OP for Hell's Paradise, because in classic Mappa fashion, they went all out.
I need to watch it again. I don't remember what it looks or sounds like.
I didn't. The music was, whatever, but it looked amazing.
I mean, like you said, it's Mappa, I'm sure.
So, speaking of sucks to suck.
Sucks to suck.
The last one that we checked out. Zom 100, Bucket List of the Dead. Let me tell you what. We started watching this, and out of all of the ones that we watched, about 10 minutes into it, I was like, I don't think I want to watch this anymore.
It got too real.
And I'm glad that we didn't stop, but it was so depressing because like the first 20 minutes of
Let's set it up. Let's describe what we're getting depressed by. So, Zom 100 bucket list is, hey, zombie apocalypse. And also the metaphor that it's like, oh, an office worker is drudgery. You know, we're seeing our main character, plucky, fresh out of college, gets this. What is he at, a marketing company or something? Like he's doing graphic design or something to that extent.
I think he's writing like commercials.
Yeah, you're right. It's commercials and stuff. And he's working on that. And he's plucky and he joins it. And then it's like, oh, it's constant overtime. It's you have to go out drinking with everybody. It's sometimes you just don't get to get home for a couple days. And just the... Yeah, Brad, you picked this up. You were talking about like it's very real and...
Yeah.
Oof.
So... I don't even know how to frame this properly because like from what I knew about it and even at the end of the episode, the what I understand about this is it's a show about what if you were in a zombie apocalypse and you wanted to be there and you could now do everything that you ever wanted to do because you couldn't before. But the thing is, the setup for that was almost it's in the top 3 of the most depressing things I have ever watched, and that is not an exaggeration. I've never watched Schindler's List, so
your touchstone comparison for this. I didn't watch Schindler's List. If I did, it'd probably be on the list, but I didn't, so it's not.
As Kermit said, you know, the setup to this is he starts at this company, and then it's 3 years at this company of, you know, working basically nonstop, never having a time off, multiple all-nighters, sleeping at the office, you know, hardly ever having time at home. His apartment's a mess because when he's there, he only has time to eat and then sleep. And
he's just like he's a zombie. That's the metaphor, which admittedly for us in the West is like, well, yeah, duh, we've seen this. This has been done decades ago, but I think Japan is still a little newer to that as they're figuring out their like work culture is like big messed up.
There's the whole thing with like the girl at the office who's nice to him.
Little like ray of sunshine who's nice to him, and then you learn that it's like she's being sexually abused by the manager, and it's like, ugh, this is getting too real, guys. Let's get to the thing.
And the thing was,
and it's like, done very well. I don't want to say that it's like it feels like it's going like it's doing all of it. I think really well. It's selling its image to you very well.
I feel like
its vibe, its tone.
Didn't need it to be that long. Like, I know what it was doing. I understood what it was going for. I think they could have done it in half the time.
I think we needed it. I think we needed to use my wrestling terms, we got worked, and I think we needed that to truly feel when he finally, at the end of the episode, where it pops off and he can do whatever, and you get this just joyous spray. All the zombie blood is coming out as like different rainbow colors. And again, death, zombie apocalypse, the world is over. Joyful was like the main word that I have. But like also like you have all this build up and you're getting like from him as you get this flashback and back to the current like ideations of death of like if I die, I don't have to go to work. And that being his thought process. Like if I just fell in the spot where the subway was, I wouldn't have to go to work, which is like that's scarily accurate when you have ideations of death, not because you want to die, but just would mean you wouldn't have to go do a thing you have to do.
Yeah. I have a hard time with this because I think they could have gotten the point across in less time.
Nope. It has to be right at the end. It needs to be that release of the valve because like
so that's the thing.
You're feeling it.
I definitely got that like you spend, you know, the 5-8 minutes at the end that is we are here now. You are released from your suffering into another world of suffering, but whatever.
It's different. We don't know what that suffering is yet.
But the fact that, like, it was difficult for me to watch, and there was, it was, it's so weird because the prelude of this is so different from what the actual show is that it felt like a different show, and it was so different from what I was expecting and from what I had osmosis about what the actual series is, that had we not been watching it together, I would have turned it off halfway through.
You wouldn't have made it. Interesting. Okay.
I've basically gotten over the shit in my life. Like, basically everything's good now. Don't really have those problems anymore. I still enjoy Isekai, but I don't really need the escape. The really depressing stuff doesn't hit me quite as hard as it used to back then. I'm better able to consume that stuff and, like, move through it and not get affected by it. This was on the line.
This cut too close to the bone.
It was so close to just being like, this is when the girl went into the manager's office and the sound cuts out and, like, that whole scene, I was like, also because that got really close to, like, NTR territory, which is a trigger for me. But I was so close to just being like, no, I'm not going to do this. All of that to say, I think it's pretty awesome.
I'm jazzed for episode 2.
The ending where it finally comes to fruition and he's free of that life and he's like, I'm going to do a bucket list. Everything that I want to do. I get why they did it. I get why it took so long. I get why it was so depressing. It's doing what it needs to do.
I think to reference something we kind of talked about earlier this episode and in a past episode many episodes ago, I think this spending an episode on this was good, in the vein that the way they did that with Boji was bad. Because this is a real thing and it's giving you this, like, tone sense of it, of like, this dude's been here for 3 years. It was dire out of the gate. I have no idea how he's it builds him as this zombie. And the fact that you are still thinking and feeling on it, that thing is going to stick with you, that he's making this big change. I feel like you need to hit just the most dire rock bottom in a way that your emotional structure changes and you go, I'm making a change in the way I'm living so that never happens again. And the fact that admittedly, you have very specific other experiences that make it cut even more close, and that's understandable, and I understand your situation. I don't want to, like, invalidate your particular traumas. But I think because it is still sitting with you, that it has done its job. So now every moment of joy, you have that core feeling of the contrast with what he's doing now and whatever he's getting into. Of, like, no matter what his struggle is, it's better than this. Like, drudgery is a light way to put what he had to go through in a very real life way. There's one thing I want to say on top of all of that I really liked in a subversion of tropes, is that once the apocalypse started, and, like, everybody's dead, he's like, I should go find that girl. And I'm like, it's an anime. There's a cute girl with big boobers on the cover. I didn't pay attention enough to see who it was.
That's a different girl.
It was a different girl. I figured this out now. I'm like, oh, of course she's going to be alive. And he gets there and she's already, like, zombified. And I'm like, thank you. Like, this is really... refreshing.
And the fact that he was
like, they have no actual relationship, and I usually yell at it, especially anime, where it's like, there was nothing here. You guys weren't actually friends. You were friendly coworkers, and you fantasized about more that never came to fruition.
The fact that he was like, I'm gonna let you go. You were my first love. I was just like, dude, okay. Which you sort of have to just hand wave away. He's supposed to be, 20-something.
He's fresh out of college, and he's been in this, like, office hellscape for 3 years where he hasn't actually been able to go out and, like, live and grow.
That's the only woman he's seen in 3 years.
Yeah, exactly. Like, the fact that he can, I feel like it'd be weird if he said nothing.
Yeah.
And just felt nothing. But I feel like that's a good ritualistic way to go, hey, this was a thing for me. It's time to move on to whatever this new universe is. So, like, of the 4 things we watched, that's the one where it's like, I'm not 100% on board yet, but I'm so jazzed about watching that next episode to see what it is now that it is what it's supposed to be.
Maybe we should tell Ben to skip that episode.
No, tell him to watch it.
Well, considering what he's going through right now.
Oh, you're right. Don't tell him to watch it. We'll just go, hey, Ben, what's your work situation right now? That was episode 1.
Yeah, right.
Now there's zombies and it's a rainbow. Okay, go.
I did like how they did that thing where they set up very early on that he played rugby in college. And then, like, when the apocalypse happens and he's, like, able to run around
but also,
and stuff, like that makes sense.
I think they're just giving him a little extra boost that he's doing this crazy parkour stuff. It's like, this man has not been taking care of his body for 3 years. I don't care how much rugby you play. But it was one of those, it's like, I'm happy I had the rugby set up. I'm glad it was there. I don't need that. It was just, the expression of joy of his movement through the city and just smashing through zombies and getting here and there was just like...
It was just
yes.
It was a short little aside near the beginning.
Yeah, no, I love that setup for his reasoning.
Yeah.
But I think he has a like, oh my gosh, I was in the gravity chamber hell for so long that even though it makes no sense that my body can do anything now, just there's so much, I'm free of it. This weight has been taken off my shoulders that I can just parkour like a crazy person. And I love it.
They could have just hand waved it away.
Yep.
But I love probably no one would have questioned it.
Specifically rugby of all things. I think rugby's starting to show up more in Japan for whatever reason.
As far as I'm aware, it had a time back in like the 90s or whatever where it was really popular, and then it sort of dropped off, and apparently now it's become
making a resurgence.
It's So I'm looking forward to the next episodes of that. I think it'll be a more fun time.
Yes, I'm excited to see what the show will actually be. But so far, I think it's shown a level of directorial hand and concept and direction that I've got high hopes for it.
I would be interested to know like how many people just stopped watching it halfway through.
I mean, there's a conversation in general for probably another episode about like you're going into a first episode and your sensation, like this is where I go, it's like that was depressing, but I knew we were going somewhere and I could feel it. And there's some shows where it's just like, no, you're not, or first chapters even where it's just like, I know sometimes the first chapter can be rough because they have to set up a feeling or something, but it's just like, where we're going is not worth it, or I can feel in my bones this isn't going a place that I'm interested in or want to or is good. And my ability to go like, I'll keep at it. There's something here, even if I haven't found it yet, and somewhere I'm like, no.
Yeah.
And the different vibes you get and other things going on, so...
But yeah,
Zom 100 bucket list.
Yes,
is that what it's called?
Bucket list of the dead.
Bucket list of the dead.
I think
excited for it. I'm so curious how it's going to deal with its female lead in a very foreshadowing thing to next month's episode. A wink. Maybe we'll talk about it depending on how it plays out. I don't know, but after how it dealt with the female friend that he had at the office, it seems like it's more mature, and I'm excited to see what they do with a fun possible female love interest. Maybe not, I don't know. I'm only going from cute girl and truck from poster.
So, yeah, I mean, I think they're all worth checking out, even if we're not going to keep watching Buddy Daddy. I think
Daddy can take a buddy nap.
I think they're all...
Go watch Kill Blue or Sakamoto Days.
They are all deserving of the hype that they're getting.
Yes, I think they are worthwhile.
You know, there was one more thing that we watched.
There was one more thing?
We watched the first episode of Anime Crimes Division.
We did! I forgot. It was only 7 minutes. Oh my gosh. Anime Crimes Division. A thing that I thought was going to be cringe as heck. and also old and cringe. And it was a breath of fresh air. It was incredible. It was very... I guess what? Brad, describe what Anime Crimes Division is.
So the first thing you need to know about Anime Crimes Division is that it is a short series, a series of shorts.
It is a live action specifically made for Crunchyroll, I believe.
Well, so it was made in partnership with Crunchyroll.
Okay.
They actually, it aired on YouTube and Crunchyroll.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Because the production company that made it...
Western made as well.
...is Rocket Jump, which is Freddie Wong of YouTube fame.
Yeah.
And the main character is someone we've talked about plenty of times.
Yeah, he pops up a lot. Weirdly.
Sun One Show.
Yes.
ProZD.
ProZD.
And so he plays the main character. I don't think... I've very rarely seen him live action besides his own YouTube channel where he does little like...
The little shorts, but not like
right.
I say serious role. This is a comedy.
Yeah, it's definitely a comedy, but he's an excellent actor.
He did a really good, like, again,
if you
I wasn't
listen
expecting
to,
the most from it. Like, I've heard him voice act, but then, like, actual acting, but, like, he's
physical
everybody
acting.
does a really good job of, like, playing to what the bit is, and it's never too much, but it's never not enough. Like,
right.
there are so many jokes, and they are clever, and some of them are more clever than others, in a way that, not in a way that, like, some of them are duds, but, like, you get... It reminded me of movies akin to, like, Airplane or Naked Gun, like, things we don't get anymore, where it's like, joke, 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 joke. But it never is, like, too winking at the camera. Like, it's not... Like, it moves along quickly. The story it tells was actually, like, funny and clever and interesting. Like, the little... Like, it had heart... The little setup between him and his new, I guess, partner, who, when he asks her what anime she's seen, she's like, I watched Digimon growing up, and they're at odds, because it's like, what a freaking normie thing to say that you grew up with that. And then later on, she, like, talks about that she was reading it, and he's like, I maybe have a little, like, it's all the, like, detective crime show tropes, it's the anime tropes, but they're just put together in just the perfect way. I love that he doesn't smoke a cigarette. He eats Pocky, which is such a perfect visual analog for holding a cigarette. I love that his boss is actually a grizzled old man and not somebody pretending to be one, and that in anime space, it just tickles me. Like, just, like, so many funny, clever... I loved it. Like, I was literally just like, I have to stop because these need to be saved. These need to be savored. Like, if we don't, I will just watch these all tonight. And this was just, out of the gate, just so... unexpectedly lovely.
So I think there's 2 seasons.
Yeah.
The first season, I think, is all the episodes are like 15 minutes or less.
Yeah.
I think the second season, the episodes are longer.
I'm up for that because it moves so quickly, and I could admittedly spend a little more time as we're starting to build out these characters and situations. The freaking joke that the main crime is that there is a graffiti on a statue. Oh, what was it called? It was very
Tetsuo Kaneda Park.
Tetsuo Kaneda Park. Be ready for our Akira special coming up at some point. But just like what a funny throwback thing to have as a park, and it's like the episode is called Subs v Dubs, and I'm like, oh no, this is gonna be a rehash of this. We've had a conversation, like, people can't stop having them, neither can we, admittedly. Like, this is gonna be a lame whatever, like, tired and done take. And then it wasn't. It gave up to both things. It entered a third thing that I don't want to spoil, that I was like, I've never thought about that, but that's actually a really good third posse in this little unexpected triumvirate that's usually just a back and forth. And just, like, really the fact that the dub crew, that their voices don't match their lip flaps, and that the sub crew you can only hear through the subs even though they're speaking, like, so good. And that the detectives can actively see the subtitles. They don't understand Japanese. They have to see the subtitles of the subtitle gang speaking. Like, what a fun little joke. Like, what a clever little funny thing. And there's just a bunch of those all the time. Da-da-da-da-da. You know, little references, little clever bits in here, bips and bops. Like, just, I want to watch another one. So good.
It's really good. I watched it back when it came out, which was, oh my God, it feels like forever ago.
Probably.
But I think it was only like 2018 or something.
Wow.
But yeah, I enjoyed it so much when I watched it back then. And so, yeah, as we were scrolling through Crunchyroll and it popped up, I was like, ooh, how about we check this out? It's only 7 minutes.
To catch our eyes. And I'm like, this might be cringe, but you're talking it up. I'll check it out. And then just was like, what a delightful way to start the night off. Loved it.
Yeah. So yeah, once again, check all those out. And as we said before, jump on our Discord. Let us know if you've watched them. And what you think
watch them
about
with
them.
us. We're watching it about an episode a week. That's how we club works, except the recording weeks. But yeah.
Well, thanks for listening to That Time I Got Reincarnated in the Same World as an Anime Podcaster. We hope you enjoyed listening as much as we enjoy recording. To find all our social media links, such as our Discord, Twitter, Threads, Patreon, Facebook, and more, I'm not going to call it X, visit our website.
I already tired of that joke was tired before it was ever made, because it's like, no, of course no one's calling it X.
You can find those social links on our website, animepodcasterreincarnation.com. You can also find articles on various topics and new manga reviews up there.
I need to get back in there and write some, especially for Martial Arts Asumi or whatever the name is of that one. And I'm sure we're forecasted a series of axes, so that means some new flowers are about to be planted. So maybe one of those will catch my eye to write something about.
And if you miss Ben, go on our website and read all his new manga reviews and leave a comment and let him know that you like it and that he needs to finish his work and
he needs to finish his work. Yell at his work. And if you really want some more Ben, go listen to his podcast, Words About Books. Brad, you usually know what he's up to on that.
I was going to get to that.
Oh, sorry.
Well, I'll tell you about it now. They're actually doing, they just released God Emperor of Dune just this past weekend.
Back to classics for them, back to Dune.
I don't know if that's going to be a two-parter, but if you like to listen to Ben talk about stuff, Dune is definitely the thing to do.
The thing he likes to talk about. I don't usually have anything to plug, so I just wanted to plug Ben's stuff.
That's all right. We definitely want to plug Ben's work. He does really good work, and we want to, make sure that people know about it and that people go and tell him how good of a job he does.
Yes.
So not only should you join our Discord and tell him that, but you should also join the Words About Books Discord and go listen to Words About Books and all of that fun stuff. We would love to hear from you on all of the social platforms, but you can also leave a comment on the site, or you can send an email to isekaisensei-sama@gmail.com. We're always looking for feedback. Tell us how you want to communicate with us. Let us know.
Communicate with us to tell us how to communicate.
I mean, yeah, pretty much. If you prefer to listen to these episodes in high-quality stereo, be sure to check out the YouTube channel. We simul-release all of the episodes up there in high-quality stereo.
How's that going to work for this one? I'm not a specific channel this time. We're just back and forth.
Yeah, it'll work like Heron Addiction, right and left, instead of
there you go.
Right, left, and center.
Makes sense.
Also, fun little thing, I'm now releasing the high-quality version early on Patreon.
Ooh, what a boon.
Yeah, so you can go check out our Patreon, and if you want to support us, then you can get the episodes early. Also, every tier gets to vote in the Heroin Addiction poll now. We're going to do polls for the next episode.
That is smart.
The next series that we're going to
I like that.
Yeah. So we hope you check that out. But more so than supporting us on Patreon, we want to hear from you. So definitely join the Discord and let us know what you're thinking. And before we go, I just want to remind you can check out Sugoi Mart, where you can get 15% off your first order by using the link in the description or using the code APR15 at checkout. So thanks again for listening. And when it's finally your turn to have an adventure in another world, I hope you don't get overworked.
Sugoi. We're not even at the ad spot yet.
All right. So, how do you want to do this?
You said you knew how to put the boat in when I asked you earlier.
No, I said I had notes. I said I had it written down.
Okay. I thought that meant you knew how to put the boat in.
I mean, I'll unhook it from the trailer and drive away real fast.
Yeah, no, I know.
All right.
Both of us see a cloud or whatever we... Oh, shoot. What's the line?
I don't know what you're saying.
It was Variations on a Cloud. I played it for you. It's got a ruler of everything in it.
Right. I forget how it goes.
Both of us see a cloud or whatever we may believe. I think that's what it is. It just came on my shuffle recently, so I was thinking about it.
In the gallows or the ghetto, in the town or the meadow, in the billows, even over the sun. Every time at the end is another begun.
You understand, mechanical hands are the ruler of everything. Ruler of everything. The ruler of everything in the end.
Do you like how I dance? I got zirconium pants. Consequential enough to put you into a trance.
Do you like how I walk? Do you like how I talk? Do you like how my face disintegrates into chalk?
You practice your mannerisms into the wall.
Oh man, you even know those.
If the mirror was clear, I'd be standing so tall.
This is a song where I have the flow of it and some key words, but not all of them. As much as I love it, but yeah, you got that.
I've been you. I know you.
You know, you're making me cry. That's just the way that I am.
I can't do the rap part.
Yeah, that part's tough.
It's too fast.
4 shows, 2 of us. 4 times 2. 8.
I'm not good at math. 8 different views. There's only 2 of us.